Hi, everyone. I'm back again. And I'm going to be doing today the synastry chart between Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash. And this is really interesting. So grab some popcorn. His Jupiter conjuncts her Eternitas, and that has to do with eternity. So she was always going to be there for him. And Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system, so that's the energy. His Rufus, Angel, and Juno conjuncts her vertex. This is very fascinating to me because whatever conjuncts your vertex from another person, you will receive those energies strongly. And if her birth time is correct, then this totally makes sense to me because her birth time is rectified. Now, Rufus has to do with drugs, and Angel is heaven sent, very almost a best friends aspect, and Juno has to do with marriage. So that's what he brought into this relationship. There were drugs involved, and she felt that he was like a really good friend to her. He could be a devil or an angel, like back and forth. And they eventually got married because his Juno is conjuncting her vertex. Now this next one is very interesting too, because his star asteroid conjuncts her descendant at 0 degrees. So he's a star, and that's what he brought into the relationship. Now this next aspect is very fascinating to the point where I got chills when I went through it, because I've talked about Chiron so many times, and this is one of the rare instances where not only does Chiron bring a lot of pain, but also healing. But it doesn't really have to do with Chiron. It has to do with another asteroid, and I'm going to go over that. I almost fell out of my chair. So his Chiron and Aeschylus conjuncts her north node. Whatever conjuncts your north node from the other person, that will be the theme of the relationship for you. When you look back, that's what you'll remember the most. However, there's a lot of other asteroids in this mix and on his north node, so I have to break it down and show you how it all works together. So I'll just go back to the beginning. His Chiron and Aeschylus conjuncts her north node, and that has to do with pain, and Aeschylus has to do with a tragedy. So there was a lot of pain and tragedy in this relationship. But it not only conjuncts her north node, it conjuncts her Venus, Ceres, and Deianira, and Toro. So her north node has the conjunctions with the planet Venus, Ceres, and Deianira. And Toro is in there as well. So that is the theme of her life, one of the core fabrics and the energies associated with her life on this planet. And we have Venus and Ceres, unconditional love. This lady she took this tragedy and pain in this relationship, and she had a lot of grace and style in overcoming it. And because of Ceres, there's an unconditional love that she felt. And Deianira, yes, she could be a victim because of this, but we have Toro involved here as well. And Toro has to do with being tough, bossy, and she put her foot down, and she was strong about it. And she gave him tough love, and she didn't take his nonsense. But she overcame all of this, and so did he. Because not only is Chiron and Aeschylus the tragedy involved as the main theme of this relationship, but there is healing involved here. Her Riki asteroid conjuncts his north node, 0 degrees. So the main theme of this relationship for him was that he healed her, because Riki is a healing energy, and his Reiki conjuncts her south node, 2 degrees. Fascinating. It still gives me goosebumps. So his Reiki conjuncting her south node, we have Chiron and Aeschylus conjuncting her north node, and his Reiki conjuncting her south node. So there's a pain, tragedy, and an eventual healing that came over this relationship for both of them. Fascinating. And also, not only does her Venus in Ceres conjunct her North Node, but her Venus trines his Amor at 2 degrees. And Amor has to do with love. His Erato conjuncts her IC 2 degrees, and her Erato conjuncts his vertex 2 degrees. So very important points in a synastry chart. This is a double whammy. And Erato has to do with romantic writing, poetry, and songs. So this is validated by their relationship. Now I'm going to get to the opposite side of the coin, because there's always the flip side to a relationship, and no relationship is perfect. And she actually validated these energies through interviews that I've seen between her, I think it was Johnny Carson, and also if you watch the movie Walk the Line, it's validated as well. His Jupiter squares her Astarte 1 degree, and Astarte has to do with blow-ups and arguments. And Jupiter is squaring this, so this happens behind the scene, and this to me signifies there was pretty, heated blow-ups between the two of them. And she did say that in an interview. Her Maniac conjuncts his IC 2 degrees. The IC opposes the midheaven. It sits at the bottom of the chart, and it's on the cusp of the 4th house. So this happened behind the scenes, and Maniac has to do with craziness, acting, moody, but on the extreme, acting crazy. And you could see this happen in the movie Walk the Line. You should watch it, because there's a scene where she sees him with his bandmates and they're all drunk, and she walks in and she starts throwing bottles at him and saying, "I'm not going to stay here, you're all drunk." And they were laughing, but that's perfectly the energy that Maniac conjuncting the IC represents. Now his Moon, Fama, and Carter, which is her maiden name, conjuncts her Devota. And Devota has to do with devotion. So to me, this is, it's fateful, because his Moon is conjuncting Carter and her Devota is conjuncting his Moon. She was devoted to him. You always want good energies conjuncting your Moon from another person, because if that doesn't happen, you won't be happy, and it will eventually show up. And the Moon is a very important luminary in a synastry chart. His Venus conjuncts her Uranus at 5 degrees. And this has to do with, it's a very electric, magnetic pull and with attraction involved. And usually when you have Venus conjuncting Uranus, you can see it right away. You'll meet the person and it'll just be electrifying. And it could almost mean love at first sight as well. But this is at 5 degrees, so that's pretty loose. If it was at 0 or 1 degrees, I think that they probably would have clicked or gotten together a whole lot sooner. But in this aspect, Venus usually makes the first move when the two people are magnetically pulled to each other. And in this case, his Venus conjuncts her Uranus, and he did make the first move. And so that's all I have with this synastry chart. I hope you enjoyed the interpretation, and I will be back again soon with other synastry charts. So hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop. Have a nice day.